Architectural Builder Supply is pleased to present you with this recording of the technical question that is listed in the title of this video.
This call may be monitored and recorded for quality assurance.
They're actually operating really good, but they physically hit the floor when you a couple of them when you open them.
And you're having problems with a Doormatic Hydra from the early 1970s?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what can I do to help?
Well, how can you help is, I don't know if you would have, I've tried to find the Doormatic.com. I believe it's been bought out by somebody else. And I watched some of your YouTube videos of this, and you referred to, you should go to Doormatic, and I cannot go to Doormatic and find any information about like the maintenance or installation. Other things, like I see that on the floor, on some of yours you see a floor and it's a painted gray device, but in my case, all I see is a nice brass plate, and I assume that brass plate might be decorative, so you don't see the business side of this opener. I haven't taken that off yet, but so that's why I'm just doing a little research here this morning.
So what can I do to help?
Well, how you can help is, oh golly, I had a number, a shoulder screw for a Doormatic shoulder screw, and he did. It was probably produced back in 2016. You did a YouTube video of it, and right now, oh golly gee. So go to, if I would search Doormatic shoulder screw, it's for $21.07, and I'm kind of speculating maybe that shoulder screw might be able to adjust these doors so they raise up just a little bit. That's what I'm looking for. Give me about 1 minute. I'm going to go to the other phone. I'm going to get you that part number. Just hang with me. Okay, I'm back. Got a part number for you.
Okay.
420014147. They called it a shoulder screw.
That is definitely nothing that you would use in a Hydra. That's for a sliding automatic door by Doormatic.
Sliding door. Okay. So what I'm thinking of doing is I'm going to go back up to the church this morning, and of the 4 doors we have a couple of these that are still in the doors. I might want to take one out. I'm going to match it up to the dimensions of that one there. Then I'm gonna get with my custodian, see if we can find the instructions, but I wish I knew the model number of this. If I had, all I can see is a nice brass plate that says Doormatic, and Hydra cushion. That's all I'm seeing. So, as far as the swing and back parts, they aren't leaking. They seem to be operating okay, but they just hit the floor. And I was wondering if there's an adjustment to be made on that, short of taking the whole door off and maybe shaving off a little wood off the bottom. They are nice wood oak doors with stained glass.
I don't think you'd want to remove wood. I think you might want to add wood.
Yeah. Well, I want to physically raise the door up. either I could physically raise the door up, or adjust it so it raises up. That's why I'm thinking. I don't know. Do you have any? If I knew the model number, could we get like instruction manuals or installation manuals for these doors, possibly?
Possibly. I'd have to know the model number. So what you end up...
Yep, I have the model number.
Okay.
And like I say, I'm kind of speculating that brass plate is more decorative. The business side of it, I believe, is underneath that in the floor. I kind of thought, well, maybe it's in the door itself. There's probably an arm or something in there. Yep. So anyway, like I say, I'm going to go to the church and see if I can, we got blueprints for the church and everything, and maybe in that file we might have old instructions for these doors, possibly. So yep. So then like I say, I'm physically going to take my screwdriver and take one of these what I call shoulder screws out. And
whoa. Hold on. We're getting too far ahead now. Now okay. You're talking about removing stuff. Let's stop. Where are the shoulder screw you're referring to? Where is it?
Okay, it is on the bottom of the door, probably I would say 18 inches away from the pivot point.
Is it in the face of the door?
And it's one on the face and one on the rear.
So there are two screws, and one is on each face. Okay, those do nothing about what you need to do.
Okay.
So what those screws are is you have an arm that is mortised to the bottom of the door.
Yep.
And those two screws allow you to change the way in which the door is canted in the opening. So you can skew that door, you can change the cant you can bias it towards the outside or towards the inside by equally counterclockwise and clockwise. Counterclockwise on one face and clockwise on the other face. That's all that those do.
Okay.
So if your door is sagging, it's assuming the position of the floor closer hasn't changed in elevation.
Nope.
You might be able to just rectify the problem by setting a couple of washers underneath the arm and lifting it up. But I think what you're going to want to do is open the door, remove the decorative cover because that is what it is.
Yep.
Take pictures of the top of the closer body that you'll see and send those to me. I will be able to identify what model it is, and I may have archival data on it, which you'll find enlightening. So that for sure, the pictures, and then wait till you get a response from me before you remove the door, because then we can have a second conversation about what to do.
That makes sense to me, because like I say, I think that is a purely decorative plate over there. There's like 4 brass Phillips head flathead screws attaching that probably to the top of the closure, and from that, and then I'm gonna have my custodian go into our files and see if we may have some like say blueprints or specs from the architect on
what they're called is as-built. They're called as-built. Yeah,
as-built.
We're looking for as-built.
Yeah. Yep. So I got a journal from the architect, everything, all of the vision and everything for this church. It was like I say, it's right at 50 years old today this year. So
nice.
Yep. So okay, well good. Like I say, I'll do a little more investigation, and I'll take my camera, my phone, and I'll take a picture of it, and then I'll get back to you. So, who should I ask for so we don't have to repeat this to one of your colleagues, possibly?
Yeah, definitely. My name is Richard.
Richard? Okay, Richard. I will get these pictures done, and before I disassemble anything other than that decorative plate, I'll send it to you then, Richard. Okay?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. Well, thank you then.
You're welcome, sir. Bye-bye.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Like you said, we have a decorative brass plate that I took off, and underneath that, I found a model number 2620-905.
Okay.
Okay, does that make some sense to you, I guess?
Yes.
Okay. And there's another number here. There's a 03-86. I don't know if that means anything.
It would be March of 1986.
There you go. Really?
Yep.
Really? So maybe it wasn't the original one back in 1970. So, okay. Well, that's
No, it could be. It just could have been rebuilt in 86.
Could have been rebuilt in 86. Okay. It would have been about 16 years old at that time. So nothing's been done with them since. Physically, they're operating, and they don't leak. But like I mentioned to you, that either the door has sagged. I don't think so, but the door is physically rubbing on the tile below them right now.
Yeah.
Is there an adjustment screw to maybe lift them up?
No, not at all.
Not at all. Okay. Okay. I did find I think on one of your things, the Door-O-Matic had a door height adjustment tool, but it's for a different model or something probably. And I did look at it, the blueprints this morning. On the top, they say there is a retractable pin. I don't know how you could ever retract that pin up and into the top concrete beam. They said somebody back in the day, they used to bring in live 40-foot tall Christmas trees, and they would take all four of these out. And I haven't a clue how they would do that. But even to physically take the door out to work on this closure, I right now I don't have a clue how to do that. I think that top pin, but I don't see any any place to put a screwdriver or a wedge or anything on that to kind of make that spring come down, that pin to come down.
Yeah, there's definitely an access hole up in that top pivot. That's the only way.
There's got to be something up there, but physically through the nice, it's almost a 4-inch oak column, I'm going to say, that these are pivoting on, and I just don't see any kind of an access hole. On the bottom, there's an access hole, and I can sort of see, like in there, like a screw at the bottom. But the one main door, I would say, that we mostly use, that is settled to the point where it's wearing on the brass plate on the bottom. And so I mean, you kind of mentioned, I think, that maybe we could put a bushing or a washer in there to kind of raise it up, but I don't know how to get that in there. Other than that, maybe we could pry it open and slide in like a washer with a U-shape, something slid in there, but I don't know if that would be the right thing to do or not. So anyway, I'm just physically, I don't think they need to be rebuilt right now. The other thing I would like to source as some parts is them. I don't know what we're going to call it. I kind of called it a shoulder screw, but and it has imprinted. There's like a washer and a big flathead screw that screws into these plates that I think they adjust just very, very slight in and out of the door. Is that a part that possibly we can get?
Well, there's nothing special about that screw. As I said earlier last week, all that screw allows you to do is to center the door in the opening.
Yeah, it centers the door, but is it I mean, very specifically, I saw Door-O-Matic in Chicago in Blows, and it's like a two-piece one that that outside bushing stays put. The inside screw brass nicely, and that's the one that rotates, and that one would adjust the door slightly back and forth. So I don't know if that's a part that maybe could be obtained. Or
there's nothing special about that screw. It's probably just 1/4-20 machine thread.
It is, I understand, but it's special to the point where I can't go to the hardware store and get that same. I mean, it's like 1/2 inch brass on the flathead going in, and and I was just, is the door-o-matic, there any parts in the archives for that? I have not been able to find in my blueprints yet the as-built description of that component yet. Got lots of specs on the building the door. It's called a nave door, and but I can't find that. The other thing I'm kind of questioning on is this nice brass decorative plate that goes over the closure, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4 screws that hold it onto that, but this on the where the U-shaped part is that would slide on underneath there. There's physically that door, oak door is so big it actually covers up the 2 screws that go underneath 3 out of the 4 doors. So it just I don't know how somehow I think that retractable pin on the top comes out, goes down into the door, and then you could tip the door out and set it aside. Then you could get at the plates. Then you could get at the closures. And how about other something like a installation manual or operator's manual for these that might have a parts list or something like that? Any more for these closures? That model number?
Possibly. No, it's possible. Yeah.
Yeah. Could I access it through you guys or a data bank from Doromatic or whoever bought Doromatic on it?
Yeah. So do this. Take a picture of that shoulder screw and send it to me along with what you can see it.
Yeah. I'm going to physically take one out, and I'll show you it in the door, and I'll physically take it out onto my. And actually, I have a picture of the model right now. I have that on my camera already. I'll send you that also. Like I say, there were nice little brass screws. Glass screws are very delicate, and luckily I had 2 that came out, and I got this whole plate sitting here. And my thought here, as I assume it's brass, I might actually take time and clean it up and shine it up eventually before we install it for the next time. Any thoughts on you of I can get some brass cleaner and kind of clean it up a little bit. It's got some residue of years used on it. Of course, these are inside, but so anyway, I will get a picture of that shoulder screw for better terms, and if you could maybe see if there's like an operator's manual for that, or I don't know if Doromatic would do the top pin also of that or not, or that'd be a different vendor would do that, the top pivot pin.
It's unlikely it's a different vendor.
Sure. So anyway, I went through. These are the working blueprints that the construction manager used for this thing 50 years ago, and we need to do some restoration. Some of the papers, they're getting a little aged, but most of it's pretty legible, what everything was. But I have not found the as-built specs of these doors yet. But I was able to get this one part off and give you the model number, which I was pretty pleased with myself. And if I have to, I got some the other ones, if I want to take them out to replace. I'm going to keep the brass screws because they seem like they're a little seized up, and maybe somehow I could encourage a little penetrating oil somehow to get into them screws. It's going to be very difficult. Any tips on getting them brass screws out? Even if I twist it off, it's not the end of the world. Well, I really don't want to drill down into this if there's an oil cavity underneath that. Too bad. Or that's probably kind of safe on the outside edges of that. Am I correct there? Where these screws go? Of the closure on the bottom? I could probably tell by the one I got there if I could take a nail or something through that. If I pokes it through empty, there's no oil underneath this. I don't want to, getting into the working component of the. But I think it's probably, let's just look at the picture here. It's probably on the outside edge where there's probably a lip. Then there's that 4 by 12 inch, gear mechanism, and it's got the hydraulics in there, like that. So, yep. So okay. Well, like I say, if you could maybe, is there like a doormatic.com anymore?
No, sir.
I didn't think so. And the company that bought this out, I went to train, and I got no bounce backs at all. Whoever bought it. So anyway, but like if you might have an old operator's manual for this one or one that's very similar, that maybe we could photocopy or something to get information possibly. Otherwise, what should I look for on operation of this if something needs to be rebuilt? The fact that these are 90-degree hold opens.
Well, the problem apparently is not with the closer itself.
I don't really think that the problems with the closer. I don't see oil leaking. They seem to be functioning. It's just the fact that they've settled. And my first thought, if I could take the door out, I could get a sander and I could sand off a little wood on the bottom. However,
you definitely wouldn't want to do that.
No, I really don't want to do that too much. But this one that's settling, physically rubbing on this brass plate, the one that we use the most, that one's sort of the one that's concerning me. So I want to somehow, is there like a thrust bearing or something on this, maybe, that has gotten worn over the years? Like I want to say a thrust bearing that's setting on, and then maybe you got your square peg of the closure. And, of course, I can't see that because the door is covering up. But maybe there's a thrust bearing that's carrying the weight of the door that is maybe collapsed a little bit. A thrust bearing, possibly.
Yeah, there's usually not anything. There's usually not a thrust bearing sitting underneath the arm.
Uh-huh.
The answer is to mitigate the height problem. Determine what's the cause of the door sagging. Is it the bottom of the door itself?
Well,
Can that be
the door. I've had a carpenter in there, and we checked it for square, plumb. Everything's right on, but they're very heavy, stained glass in them, heavy wood oak frame, custom made. I've never seen any other venue I've been in. Very heavy door. Physically, 3 out of the 4 are physically hitting the tile underneath, and I'm reluctant to do much door other than physically raise it. Anyway, I'll go take some pictures of that. I'll do a little more. I'll get my step ladder in there, and we'll adjust that. So, see if we can figure out how to get that top pin down or something. Okay.
It all starts with photographs. Email it to me.
Photographing. So. I'll do some photographing, more details, and you'll get an idea of which way to go then. Okay.
Very good, sir.
Okay, thank you. You bet.
Bye. Bye. Okay, I wanted to address some of what the client said. Just to be perfectly honest, that was a lot of listening and very little contribution on my part, and it's just, I just think the gentleman needs to work through it verbally. So, touching on some of what was said, that's going to be a Doormatic 260, 2600. I think he said it was hold open. I don't really recall. So absolutely, what's going to happen is, first of all, at the end, near the end, he said he hasn't taken. We know he hasn't taken the door down, so he could not have determined if there's damage to the bottom of the door. Here in Naples, I got called to a job site one time because a wooden door on the exterior of a building was making noise, and floor closer situation. It wasn't Doormatic, it was someone else, and I was able to determine, luckily without having to take the door down, that reaching my fingers up into the cavity underneath the door, I could feel all of the split wood, and what was cracking and creating a sound was the door opening and closing, and that wood actually shifting on the inside. So was that door also sagging? It wasn't, but it would have moved laterally because of the cracked wood to a certain extent. And in fact, it was moving because it was allowing part of the door to touch the frame, because now the door wasn't 1 3/4 thick, and I actually think it was 2 1/4. It was slightly thicker than that because of the cracked bottom rail. So without investigating the integrity of the bottom of that wooden door, there's no way to tell what's happening. It's unlikely that the floor closer has sunk further because that would have been poured in concrete. That's likely not moved at all. It's unlikely that the height of the frame has gotten shorter. Okay, let's just assume that that's not going to go from 8 foot tall to 7 foot 11 3/4. And let's just say that the steel is not going to shrink. I didn't ask him for the margin from the top of the door to the underside of the header. That would have been a telltale sign that the door has come down, either as a result of the bottom of the door no longer being capable of handling the weight of the door and the arm that's attached to it. You know, is it possible that this was never installed in concrete and could have been put on top of gravel? I don't know. It's very unlikely. No one would really do that, and I've never seen that. Actually, I have seen that. So it could be a problem with the integrity of the installation of the closer, but just unlikely. And it's a wood door, and wood is something that's going to degrade with time. So it's very likely that that's the issue. So talking about the second point of that door coming down, it is most absolute that that door is going to come down out of the opening as a result of retracting the top pin in the header component of the closer. So that's absolute. That's how that's going to work. I don't at this time have a 2600 cut sheet. So this is something that's possibly from the 60s on the 300 and 4000 series floor closer. The point of me showing this to you is because that top pivot is not going to be very different. So what I'm imagining, and I've already said, the only way that that door is coming out of the opening is by drawing up the top pin. With this model, there appears to be a finished, well, there doesn't appear to be a finished plate, in that there is a screw right here that you can access and turn that counterclockwise, I believe, and it will, this is called a walking beam pivot. It will pull that top pin up, at which point that door is going to come down. It's going to come down. So when you're drawing that pivot pin up, you better have people there to help, you know, carry the load of that door, because when you install it, you have the bottom arm attached to the bottom of the door. Screws are running up here. Okay. You set it down onto the spindle, and then you turn that bolt, I think clockwise, drive the pin down, and then you're done. So that's how he's going to get up there. Now, it could be that there is no screw there, but there's a hole. In that instance, you literally stick a screwdriver up there and push on something, and if you push hard enough, you'll see there's a relationship between that pin coming up. Old Rixson top pivots, like 100 years ago, 1920. Those operated that way. Then the shoulder screw that he was mentioning earliest, these are the screws that are simply meant to help adjust how the door sits in the opening. So the trouble he might be encountering, he's calling it a shoulder screw. I get that. It's got a very unusual head to it, but there should be nothing unusual about this screw in terms of its thread type. It'll be unusual in the sense that it's got a finish on it, and that's an unusual shape. But these parts are not his problem. He's probably just curious about these parts. If I tighten this and loosen this, you can tell I'm going to take that door and I'm going to move it this way. And if I tighten this and loosen this, I'll pull that door out that way. And that's what it's for, because not every frame is true plumb level and square. So having this adjustment is how it's done on wood doors. Okay. And in fact, I had said earlier, there are no screws securing this to the underside of the door. There are none. It sits on the spindle, and then you've got this set screw. And when you have these two screws, holes drilled through the face of the door and threaded into the arm, that's how it's entirely held on. So hopefully there will be an email that will come my way, and we will be able to look further into the availability of supporting documentation. And while this client could just want to talk about this, I'll try to work in edgewise any way that I can in the conversation what I believe he's going to need to do. And we may have some parts of his closer that he may need. But at the end of the day, and ultimately, what I think he may need to do is simply, obviously, correcting the height of the installation is what needs to be done. But one trick that's done is there are shims that are placed underneath all of this. He may need to increase some shims. And he had said a couple of times about shaving the bottom of the door. That is the last thing to do. You want to just fix the height. Putting shims or large washers underneath here to boost that up 3/16 of an inch, no one's going to really call foul, but you got to make sure that your arm is completely engaged in this spindle. And if you're not able to do that, then the door's not going to, you'll push on the door and it will be sloppy in the opening because it's not completely sitting on that spindle. So that's what I would look out for. So let's hope that there's a follow-up, and if there is, that's where this audio video is headed to next. Thank you.
to the office and I'll visit to you about my project here. Okay. I'm a farmer, and the last couple of weeks I've been busy in the field putting corn in, and it rained up here, so I'm finally getting back at my project about that Matic doors. Back on May 18th, I think I forwarded you some pictures of my project. There'll be a door, the one on the floor, and the like. Maybe pull that up and give you a little reference what I'm talking about here.
Oh, no, I'm looking at it.
Okay. So I kept the computer here. And a couple things we previously talked to you about, and in the blueprints of the building back in the early 70s, I found where they talk more about the doors and the top pin, not so much about the bottom, but all that sits on that Matic closure. And physically, I mean, the advantage of having it in the floor is all the oil stays down, as opposed to if it's up, the oil can come through the seals and that. So I think, functionally, the door closures are working. Just the fact that they've settled, the heavy wood doors have settled down onto the closures. And I'm trying to look whether there's some adjustment or something like that to accomplish that. So one of the things you told me to look for is I have in front of me from the architect, the architectural, what am I going to say, the big book of all the details to the whole building. And I went through, and on page 83, I found the detail on a floor closure. Like I said, is a 2620D less pivot. The pivot, top pivot is a 171A with an X special head frame socket. And says install walking beam portion in door. Install a walking beam portion in the door. And, that's what I have for the notes from the architect. So that the floor closure is the 2620D. The top pivot is a 171A. It talks about being a retractable pivot. For the life of me, I have no idea how that's going to retract at all. It's like a half-inch pin that would go up into a bushing, and there's no access hole or anything around that 4-inch round red oak door pivot area. And if you look at them, maybe you can look at the doors in my picture there. Kind of a round, special custom made, 8-foot high, 3-foot wide. I think they're 3-foot wide doors that they pivot into this cast concrete beam above there.
Yeah. It's a beautiful facade.
They are, absolutely. They're works of art. And some of the side notes here, I found an invoice from a hardware company. I don't know if this is the right one or not. And then they got 2 pivots. It looks like a 412 right hand, left hand. I don't know why the pivots would be left hand, right hand, but this is just an invoice I found within my information here. But Other thing I got going on this afternoon, found a local contractor that kind of specializes in commercial doors, and I'm trying to get him to come look at them this afternoon. You need to pick that up.
Yeah, come look at them this afternoon.
Well, yeah, he's supposed to come look at it this afternoon. I have some information, like all the blueprints and everything. More on the top pivot. Very little I can find about the recess cavity. They were set in concrete. A pocket into the tile, porcelain tile floor on the bottom, and one of my concerns is these doors, as pretty as they are, they're very heavy, and the weight of them is compressing down onto these door closures to the point where they're physically rubbing on this nice brass fascia plate. And so other thing is, you might see one of my pictures. You see a picture of this brass plate, and that's Doromatic. The words Doromatic, Hydra cushions there, and really there's nothing wrong with this. I'll clean them up and put them back on. But that picture of that, you see that flathead screw and that washer? That's really what I'd like to obtain, especially the washer part. The screw I could probably come secondhand through a machine shop, but that bushing there, that's a picture of what I want to say the adjustment screw. That goes down low into the Doromatic arm, and that does very subtle adjustments to the left and right swing of the door. And I physically have over the years, two have gone missing, and
I may be able to find those washers. I can certainly take a look.
Yeah, and then washers, especially the screw. I put the machine shop here. I could source them locally, but it's a 5/16 inch screw, flathead, and physically, that's the one, at least for right now, I could use for sure. The door closures, like from the imprint I saw on it last time. Oh, they must have either got rebuilt or new ones put in '86. So 16 years after from there were the other three. I can't really get at them because the top two screws of the plate are physically being half covered up. Them nice brass screws are being covered up, so I cannot really get at them to do it until I get the door off. And how to get that door off is still kind of a mystery. I did for one of my church members that works for a window, door frame company called Curry's in Mason City, Iowa, recommended the Door Incorporated. Door Incorporated. There's an Iowa-based commercial door company out of Des Moines, and they got a local dealer at Swaledale, only about 20 miles from me. And he put me in contact with a local contractor that kind of specializes in commercial doors. And so this is the guy I'm hoping to get to look at this afternoon. And so my main mystery is trying to how to get that top pivot. They say it's a retractable top pivot. It must be a spring holds it up or something. But in the drawings of the blueprints, I don't see any accommodations for retracting that pin. It's just a mystery. So, yeah. Yep. Because I've been searching and trying to find, some older members that might have evidently one time back in the late 70s, they actually took two doors out to get a huge 40-foot Christmas tree in there. And somebody must have got, well, 86, they must have took it out to install the new closure. Yeah. Yep. So I'm finding some information from the blueprints and the architect's instructions about specs and everything. This is the general contractor went through here. There's lots of little notes and things that they were paying attention to. Yep. So anyway, I'm doing some more research here. And I'm finding some information. I was a little fearful because the blueprints I'm looking at, these are the physical contractors, electricians, bricklayers, everybody's instructions. These are the blueprints they worked on every day building this thing, and at least they preserved that. And there's lots of detail here about. This is probably at that time probably a $10 million facility. I have no idea. It would be a lot right now. So anyway, like I say, my best guess is I got a contractor that kind of specializes in doors, and just visited a little bit this morning. He hasn't a clue until he sees it, and kind of go from there. So, but so from you, after if I could physically get the doors out. And with the proper technique, I don't want to damage anything because the doors are 100% good yet. But just the fact that they're settled and a couple of them are physically dragging on the ground, and I'm very reluctant just to try to shave off the bottom of the floor when something more appropriate needs to be done. Yep.
So, right.
Yeah.
So the bottom line is that top pivot is where you need to scrutinize.
That top pivot is my focus on right now. And I got really good drawings of that. And they says retractable. Retractable. How do I retract it? Because there's no access hole at the top through it's a huge piece of red oak that was custom built for this, and there I don't see any access hole like a little set screw or something. Are you
saying up in the header in the rabbet there's a piece of oak there that the pin comes down through?
Yes.
Okay.
If you look at the door,
door. So that trim piece has to come off.
Trim piece.
That header that has to be a trim piece. There could be no other way.
Yeah. They do have some for the stained glass to be put in, removed, and serviced. They do have some plates for that, but up at the header, I don't see. That's oh golly, I don't know. That header is I assume it's solid red oak. Maybe it's red oak veneer. Actually, on the bottom, we've had some water damage from up above. There's a little piece of veneer red oak that was probably applied to the sub base on that. I got a little chip on the bottom that needs to be repaired, but way up high, I need to get a ladder and kind of really look at that area. If there's any special trims or something that.
I'm looking at the photo, and I wonder if that's that's a trim piece that's there, and then it was accessed from the. Can you get above there?
I can get. Well, I can get. That's one thing. I'm not getting a ladder high enough to get above, and maybe at an angle towards the top pin or something, physically on top of the door. Maybe there's a set screw or something like that.
Yeah, well, so that walking beam pivot allows you via a screw to retract and throw the top bolt down, but somehow you got to get access to that.
Yeah. Now that I'm thinking about this, I've looked at the bottom, always from the bottom looking up. Of course, it's an 8-foot door, 8 foot. I mean, that's up there. So I need to get a ladder on the top, and maybe there's a special access away from the public view that I can get down that at that area. Yeah.
That must be a facade piece because there's no way they could have installed. You get the door in place with the pin down.
Yeah, because I can from the outside. I guess I've looked straight in. I can see there's a 1/2 inch, maybe 5/8 inch pin. I don't know actually what the specs are, but it's considerable 1/2 inch pin. Very nice there, and there's a bushing that's been epoxied into this concrete header of the building, and that, even over the time, I'm thinking 50 years without a drop of oil on it or something like that. That's nice and smooth and no squeaking, nothing. So but I need to get above the door and look around. There might be an access to that pin that I'm just from the ground. You just don't see it.
Right. And I'm sure that was the point of the design.
Yeah, it was quite the design. And I mean, it's all these years I walked through that door, and it's
never thought of it.
It's literally
just took the beauty of the design for granted.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, literally, I don't know if you've ever seen anything like that, but in my journeys, I've never seen anything like this. Like I say, if this closure would have been on the outside door exposed to the elements and water and salt, I'm sure that closure, there could be sitting in a puddle of water, and the like. But this was completely inside, nice and dry. So that's probably why these closures have lasted this long. Just the physical weight of that door is coming down on it. Now, all these years, all of a sudden, a couple of them are physically rubbing on the tile work on the floor, and that's why I'm thinking, well, maybe once we get this out, maybe there was a thrust bearing or something there that is slightly worn, or a washer that is physically set into the wood of the door or something that needs to be shimmed up. But
So in the standard construction, and first of all, that's why floor closers are super expensive, and they always have that because they last forever. Now, what that would have come with originally would have been shims, and they're just C-shaped pieces of metal that are about a 1/16 of an inch thick. So if you were able to tighten that up a little bit, you could scoot a couple of the right size shims.
That's why I'm kind of thinking, if I got the proper tool, a wonder bar or something, just to slide underneath there, and maybe if it would come up just a 1/16 of an inch or 1/8 of an inch, especially the one that's wearing, if I could take some like shims, like U-shaped shims, and slide in there, we may not even have to take it apart.
Yeah, wouldn't want a wonder bar, but if you get a couple of the fellows and do a killer Kowalski on it and see what happens.
Yeah. So okay. Now, as I'm visiting with you, I'm thinking it's getting a little more logical. I mean, everything was, everything in life is built a certain way, and
somehow
by doing this, we're sort of reverse engineering it here. And some of the notes I see in here that even though the fellows that did it 50 years ago are long gone, but still, it's good to have good documentation. And when we have a whole pile of blueprints, and finally I found this, and this is like, to me, it was like the mother lode that I was looking for here. And
So where in Iowa are you?
I am in Charles City, Iowa. You ever heard? Well, I'll just give you a reference point. In Nashua, ever heard of the Little Brown Church in the Vale?
I believe that term is familiar to me.
Little Brown Church in the Vale. It is a kind of a tradition back in the 1850s. There was, as the Pilgrims were coming out and settling, they built this little brown church in Nashua, Iowa. And this is my hometown, Nashua, but this church that we're talking about is in Charles City, Iowa, and this was built in 1970. It was basically in 1968, 54 years ago. There was an EF5 tornado that blew through Charles City and took a lot of buildings out. Took out 2 Methodist churches, and between the 2 of them, they built one very marvelous church in the early 70s. Subsequently, and but they had some considerable insurance money, enough to kind of get this done. And the bishop basically says, nope, we're not going to have 2 churches. We're going to have one church. And them 2 came together and become Trinity. So anyway, so we're about to celebrate our 50th anniversary of this church being done. So as a trustee, I'm trying to do whatever I can to get it up to snuff for the celebration here. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'd get up above the ceiling line.
I'm going to get my step ladder up there and look from the top down. So the low-hanging fruit is eventually if we can get these doors out, or if I can maybe just get a little C-shim underneath there and accomplish the same thing without taking it out. If it's totally impossible, I don't know. So, yeah. And then I'll, just move on. But so anyway, that's what I'm working on. And like I say, I have a contractor that kind of specializes in commercial doors. And he happened to be right here in town. And through this door company, I found him, and perhaps we can figure out what to do here. And like I say, but low-hanging fruit is from that Door-O-Matic, that little flat head screw bushing or shim right there with that screw. If you can't find the screw, I can get it locally, but or if there's anything else like operating instructions for that Door-O-Matic model 2620, and I think it was your website. I've looked up and down through your website. I find nothing with Door-O-Matic on the website. So maybe this is current things are on your website. But I did watch your video talking about Door-O-Matic was one of the ones you possibly could redo. And I'm going to put a note someplace in my whatever. If one of these goes bad, we need to contact you and see if we can get it rebuilt. Just for a question, by any chance, do you have any of these door closures on the shelf? If we wanted to rebuild it, would we have to rebuild the same one, or do you have any on the shelf?
I don't have any, and at this moment, it would have to be a repair of yours.
Sure. I went through the video, and he says, you have some on shelf. Well, you call us up, we'll send you one way, and you send one this way, and rebuild yours, and we'll put yours on the shelf. So if it would be a considerable turnover, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 of these. But if they're not broke, there's no sense tearing them apart. My thought is, but little shims and there's some adjustments to get them functional. And, yeah. So anyway, like I say, I'm going to go back to church this afternoon and take a look and see from the top down. There's got to be some way to get that, because literally there's like maybe a 1/16 of an inch. You can't even put a screwdriver in there and reach it. From the barrel of it. Maybe there's something from the header part up high that I can walk. Yep. So okay. So
let me know.
Well, very good. Like I say, you could somehow through their archives find an instruction manual for that closure would be great. Or if that bushing, I got one in hand, I could probably go to the machine shop and he could probably fabricate one for me. if we can.
I will investigate if I can get my hands on a couple of those washers. And
if you can wash it, that would be great. Like I say, if you don't have the screw, it's a fairly common, not common, but brass screw that I can get my machine shops. You give them a little lead time, he can give you a packet of 10.
Yeah, right.
So there you go. So good. Okay. Well, like I say, you do a little research, give me a call back or shoot me an email or something, and I'll if I find something revolutionary from my trip to the church with the contractor, I'll let you know. So, okay.
Thank you very much. I'll be in touch when I see if I can have the data.
Bye. Yep.
Bye.
Back from vacation, and I said that I got a local contractor that's working on the doors as we speak, and so we're working on the doors today, and we're taking the doors up and out. We found, number one, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, because I'm just rattling here. So I got the top. So of the 4 doors, we got 2 of them out, and they have them walking beam pivots on it, and with a cover plate over the top of it goes into the door. And once we got, it's very tight to get at because of the concrete upper pin, and but they did get them out, and we're doing a couple things right now. We're right in the middle of it. The original installers, actually, for that kind of a shim on top of the arm, they had like pieces of Formica or something like that, he said. So he's taken that out, and we're kind of debating what shims to put back in there, because physically the door was hitting on the floor. So what he decided to do, because they're all nice red oak, he's got a nice tape there, and we've very properly sanded off like 1/8 of an inch off the bottom. And also doing that, because it has some water damage down there, he got some red oak veneer, and we're dealing with getting that installed, looking really good there. And we're going to get it stained and put that together. Sort of the question I got for you right now is the Doormatic 2620 closures. I always thought they were in pretty good shape, but now that he's physically taken a couple of them out, they were physically sitting in probably 2 inches of water. And over time, because there was some rough leaks on that. And so right now, we're taking them out. We're going to clean them up and to get some wire grinders on them, and then clean them up. And there we're going to, both the case in the ground and the closure itself had like fairly severe rust on it. And we're hoping that when we can take a wire wheel to it, there's no holes all the way through the casing. And yeah, is there anything else that my contractor should do while we got them out, like check the oil or things like that?
No, they're not serviceable in that sense at all.
Okay. Yeah. So we got the 3 out of the 4 from the original building, back in '72. And the one I took off, the cover took up before, I think that was like '86. So 3 out of 4 is original. And the only thing we're really concerned right now, we got a couple snapped off little brass screws to hold the top plate down. And I think we're going to get take a drill and kind of drill that out. And then we can probably re-tap it to get them Other thing he knew about is you take the loosen up the 4 heavy inch screws that go into the floor. Here again, them were, I don't know if they're stainless but they were kind of tough to get out. So we loosen them up. There are some adjusting screws on the outside of that. You can physically push down in the case to lift the whole floor closure up. I think that's correct. There's a couple screws they can push down, physically lift the whole closure up just a tad if you were so inclined to do that. And that's what we're doing right now. So, yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to, touch base with you a little bit right as we got them out. And if there's any tips you can give me to be aware of or do while we got the doors down and out.
No, not really. I mean, if it's, if the bodies are operating.
The bodies are operating fine. Yep. Bodies are operating fine. And the arm, I'm in the process of getting new screws for them. Door arm adjusters. There's one on each side. And I was able to find Matic aluminum washer from, where is it? Something Supply in Princeton, Illinois. I was able to find one of them aluminum ones. And from a local machine shop, I got some brass screws coming. My thought is I might tarnish them a little bit to kind of darken them up a little bit. You got any advice on how to tarnish shiny brass? Like things like, salt water, or there's ammonia or something like that maybe. You could put brass on that and it kind of tarnishes it, darkens it up. So I've those little things I've learned on the internet here. So, yep. But or else they could be shiny and nobody's going to be the wiser. And so like I say, physically then they're not leaking oil as we speak. He's cleaning the base up, and the cavity goes down into it. We're going to clean that up and get some of that surface rust off, and then we're going to get some gray primer paint and repaint everything. And
maybe epoxy the outside of those.
Yeah, okay, I could do that. And so I was kind of surprised. Well, over time, we've had some rough leaks above that area, which caused the water stains on the door. The veneer is sloughing off, and all that water drained down into that pocket that the closure's in. And I thought it was dry, but oh boy, it was probably sitting in 2 inches of water down there, which was not good. So, I wasn't expecting completely interior door. It's 50 feet away from, the closest outside door, but physically the roof above it had leaked. And so anyway, this was a good time to get them out. And right now, we got 2 out and we're working on it right now. And like I say, they're all operational. The only thing would be some concern if we, in the process of grinding or cleaning up, all of a sudden the casing got a hole all the way through that, and sort of send them back to you and get them rebuilt. I might be thinking like JB Weld or something on it, just stop the leak. If there happens to be one, I'm hoping not anyway. That's fairly substantial metal that they're made out of, probably.
I would also, one trick that we do in the steel door business is use undercoat like you'd put on the bottom
undercoat,
of your
like on the bottom of the car. Yeah. That would be something a lot more thick than just primer paint,
Absolutely. I would prime it and undercoat it.
Prime it and undercoat it underneath that. I'm sure there's probably room to do that, even if it's a little rough coating and the like. We could spray some undercoating on that and to give it a little more, shield to the weather. And the leak above it right now is I think it's fixed. So there's no more new water coming. But as custodians are prone to do, is they get their mop out and the water goes into that area too. Things. So yep. So okay. So okay. Well, I'm going to get back at it here, and like I say, he's going to wire brush and clean them up, and we're going to start with primer. And like I say, I'll get some underbody spray paint that we can give them a coating. Just another, because we can do it. Yeah. So that's a good idea. So okay. So
thank you very much for keeping me up to date.
Up to date. Like I say, I'll let you know that's all finished up. I'll do a before and after picture. You already got the before pictures, and I'm really impressed. But he's got some really nice red oak veneer that is, wow, this is going to look nice when it's all said and done. So very good.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you,
I'd
Richard.
love to see the afters. Yep.
Yeah, I'll show you some afters, and it'll be just like new. 50 years later. There you go.
Thank
you. You bet. Bye.
Bye.
We got one door completely we ended up sanding off about an 1/8 of an inch on the toe of the door that was hitting the floor, and I took your recommendation of we cleaned up the floor closures really nice. We primed them all the way around, and then on the base we cleaned it up and put that underbody coating on it, and it looked like it's going to work out really well. And one couple little things on it. I'm looking for some little. They got this really nice brass faceplate on it that has some little bitty screws to go into that. Do you have possible the screws, the little brass screws, flathead screws that would go into that possibly? I could go to my machine shop, but I'm only thinking.
Yeah,
like,
I don't.
Number 8. Yeah.
I do, but what I would do is I'd run a tap into it to determine the thread type.
Yep. Well, I have one good one. I can take that one good one to my machine shop, and it'll say 8 or 6 or something like that, and then I'll go from there. So I'm going to do that because we have a couple that are physically broke off, and then we're going to drill them out and get the right size tap and retap them to get that done. And got another question on a Russ Winn overhead door closure.
So hold on 1 second. Just give me a moment.
Yep. I'm going to shift gears on you a little bit here. Yep.
Okay, sir. Thanks for holding.
Okay. So anyway, I'll find them threads of them screws, and like I say, when I get to my machine shop, I could probably get something to. I'm hoping to get brass because I want everything to look just so. And
yeah, for sure.
Okay. Another door completely. I got a men's bathroom that's got a Russ Winn model 2600 door closure. And what's doing is it's nicely closing, but the last 4 inches, it takes like forever to do that final close. Is there an adjustment to that? Or I tried just adjusting the bar in and out, and that doesn't really do it. It's the arm, after about 5 minutes, it finally will shut the door. Is there like a screw adjustment, like to do that final close possibly on it? Russ Winn model 2600. I went on the internet and nothing I can find is that old. Russ Winn model 2600.
Yeah, there should be a couple of valves on there. One is going to control.
Right.
One will control the latch, which is about the last 10 or 15 degrees, which is what you're counting.
Yeah, so by looking at from the inside out, I'm looking at the closure there. Is that the left-hand one or the right-hand one?
I don't know because I don't have the instructions in front of me.
Okay.
But,
well, so like I
so
say,
what you'll do is open one up like a half turn counterclockwise. Cycle the door 2 or 3 times and try to determine, is it getting the first 15 degree or is it adjusting 15 out to 80 degree?
Yep. Because what it's got is a little jam nut to lock it in a position. You take a screwdriver and then you adjust it from there. I think that's what I needed to do because I simply tried to adjust the arm and I'm bottomed out. The arm's bottomed out. Then, like I say, 5 minutes later you'll go back and now it's all the way done. And I need to find the right adjustment is probably the fast close and the finish close, right? Or something like that. Yep. So. Yeah,
you're exactly right about that. Actually, there may only be one valve in the edge of that. I'd have to see photographs of the 2600.
Well, it's
there's one really easy to get to as I'm looking on the right-hand side. It's easy to get to. I feel in my finger on the back side of the cylinder, it's in there about 6 inches that I would have to. That one's tougher to get at. I'm gonna start with the one that's easy to get at and see what that happens. And,
I think the one that you're saying is tough to get at is the back check valve, and you wouldn't need to manipulate that at all. It's the one that's easy to get to.
Okay. So hopefully that's the one I get at, because all I need is loosen up the jam nut, get a screwdriver in there, and rotate like a quarter of a turn or something. If it's getting better or worse, I'm gonna go from there. Yeah.
You want to be real conservative. If you back that out too much, the set screw will come out because that's not staked.
Sure.
And then you're dealing with a rebuild. So just very half turn at the most.
Gently. Well, there's like a spring behind that check valve or something. The screw.
Yeah.
It might fall out. Well, I'll maybe very judicious with that. A little bit. Yeah. So okay. Yeah. But so anyway, after I had my contractor work a solid day on these doors on it, and I'm really pleased how things are coming together. I mean, physically having that instruction manual, I mean, all the difference, everything is just coming together. And, he had to understand that top walking beam pivot. Once he did that, he physically had a little quarter-inch ratcheting screw with a tip down in it that would sort of just reach in there and just one click at a time to do that because of the low clearance on the header. So, So when it's coming together, and he was able to find the right veneer to nicely finish it off. So I'm pleased the guys understand our desire to have these doors working properly and look like they should have 50 years ago. So, yep. So
you get another half a century out of them now.
There we go. So, okay. Well, thank you then. I'll try this other door then. Okay. Thank you then, Richard. You bet.
Bye.
Mm-hmm. Bye. I got some door components I'm looking for.
Okay.
I don't know if you maybe you can open them up and then look, and I'll picture it worth 1,000 words there.
I've not received the email. If you like, I can call you back when I get it.
Yeah, well, I just sent it just a few minutes ago, and basically, on your opening website, you have dozens of pictures of parts, and what I call it's probably a door accessory. You got on the face of a open face metal door, you have a lock that would lock the door into the floor or into the ceiling. This is a double door, and so if you have a deadbolt on one, the other one is going to have a throw that go a pin into the floor, a pin into the top. And basically, I'm looking for that pin plate that would be screwed into the floor. And that's one of the pictures I've got for you in that. So it's about 3 inches long, 1 inch wide, with countersink brass screws on both sides of the hole. It's a brass plate that would go into the floor, on the surface of the floor.
And what is that covering?
Basically, it is a ceramic or floor tilers. They're bricks, and they've countersunk a place for this to go, and it's physically gone. So I want to replace it. So what that does is you got the pin that comes down from the door. You flip a little lever, like a walking beam lever. You flip that, and it goes down on the floor, and it goes up into the header properly. And this is how we lock these doors occasionally. And
okay, so when I do get that email,
when you get that email, it just went to tech support at abesupply.net. It'll be on your inbox, and you can take a look at. Give me a call back if possibly you can help me. And I got another picture of an old door stop, hold open device that I know what one side of it looks like. I don't know what the other side looks like. And anyway, yeah. So anyway, that's what I'm looking for. I forwarded these pictures to you. I got about like 6 pictures you can do there. And if I had a faster internet, maybe I could pull up some of the images. Let me just back up here. Back up. Yeah, I'm looking at Trim Hardware. Trim Hardware from your opening page. That is the piece this works with. I don't know what you call that from your opening page. Trim Hardware. Has it got a little flip in the thing? You flip it up, flip it down. And that's the way it works. So, and I got one like that in this. Trying to facilitate here. Yep. So, I
will be in touch when I see that email.
When in touch. Okay. Thank you. Or I can't remember. You still have my cell phone or not?
Oh yeah. No, I've got your information.
There you go. Very good. Okay. I'll let you pick that up and give me a call whenever. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
You bet. Bye. Okay, I'm following up with you on this top pivot. The top pivot. I think you forwarded me top pivot center hung from ABH, I believe. Did you?
I forwarded you something. It could be an ABH item, yes, sir.
ABH top pivot center hung, non-handed. And I have some. I can't remember if I think I sent you the pictures of it. But I have a Dormatic top pivot, and I think I understand. Probably that's obsolete. Don't make it. Can't find them. So the most important dimension I want to get with you is the dimension of the pivot pin itself that goes into the top bushing. I believe mine is half inch, and I can't get from these spec drawings the dimension of that. They tell me the outside dimension of the tube of 7/8 of an inch, and but I've taken an eighth of an inch away from the tube. I come up with a half an inch, but I want to make sure. I'm looking at the drawing. I think it's 0340.
I don't know the diameter of the pin. My guess it would be a half inch, but
that's pretty important. I don't know if in the trade they do anything other than half inch for top pins themselves. I had a caliper in there. I could sneak in there yesterday, and I measured a half inch. That's what mine is. And the other thing,
you'd be replacing the plate in the top of the door as well.
Yeah. Well, then I'm looking at some dimensions. Looks like 6 3/4 long total, which is going to make it. I don't know the dimension from the pin to the screw going down. That's probably the most awkward one because of the concrete beam we have up in there. If we have anything less than the walking beam of that, it would be impossible to install it. So I'm measuring. Looking at this drawing. It says 6 3/4 long total. I believe mine is 7.5 total on my Dormatic one, and so I've been also working with Mary Ackerman in Princeton, Illinois, and looking at theirs. And Mark, the owner of it, whoever, says that he would prefer a Jackson top pivot.
Bad idea.
What now?
Bad idea.
Bad idea? Okay.
Bad idea.
Okay.
You want something? Okay. You want something to last another 5 decades, or you want something to last 5 years?
I want something forever.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Jackson is, and obviously Mary and they're Dave and the son Mark. They're all good. They're my buddies. Jackson's a bad idea. Go with something robust.
Robust. You think this ABH is more robust?
Oh yeah.
But I But what I need to do, I want to get from somebody the Jackson one. If the Jackson is a little longer, it might fit in better. Even I don't know what is about the Jackson might be a lower quality or something like that. That's what I want to see a spec sheet on it.
Mary can send that to you. Yeah.
She'll send that to me. And but if it fits in there exactly right, I don't see the downside of it. Other than the fact that if it's mechanically the same and fits the holes exactly. Yep.
It's not going to be any bigger than the ABH.
Nope. Well, no. I hope it. I need to look at the specs because I guess from the catalog they talk about all the specs of a lot of other stuff, but it's not the top pivot. So I need to.
Jackson is for aluminum doors. It's not right for what you want to do.
Well,
you're going to need Rickson or ABH.
Yeah, I'm looking right at the.
Are you intending to change the top arm in the top of the door? Well, that's the problem. You have to change that.
Well,
you're going to have to Dutchman the header and the top of the door and re-prep for the new pivot.
Yep. Well, that's my challenge is I have about 4 inches from the pivot to the edge of the header where the screw goes, and right now, my contractor can only reach about half of that screw to the point where he actually had to chip out a part of the header or the concrete just to get he gets a little 1/4 inch ratcheting screw with a straight bit in it to very carefully get that come up. And it's right at the edge, so I can't go in anymore with the adjustment screw. And
what's the length of the Doormatic top pivot?
I think I have a tape measure on it. I should have measured it better. I got pictures of that. I measured, and from my pictures, it looks like it measures 7.5 inches.
Yeah.
7.5 inches, and this one is 6 3/4. Which I wish I should have measured. What I did in my pictures, I set a tape measure right behind it, so I'm trying to interpret in my picture of that, which I was kind of fortunate because they had one door completely out. They were redoing veneer on the bottom of the one that was cooperating, had it out there, and I should have put a tape measure on it. I'm going to probably call Steve or Jake back on that, my contractors, to see if he ever put a tape measure on it. I'm kind of guessing he didn't. Do
you want a shorter length pivot? Is that what it is?
I want
longer.
A longer one that's exactly the same length. I don't know for sure from that screw to the walking beam pivot, the walking beam portion of it, from where the screw goes to where the center of the pin is probably my most critical dimension. And even on this ABH one, I'm not getting an exact measurement here, but I could probably, from this spec drawing, I could probably construct it. But that's so anyway, as I'm working here, the top pivot is the critical thing because we're going to have to destroy the old one just to get it out, and that's sort of. So my contractor says I want parts in hand before I start this project, and the top pivot is the most critical one, and I want to make sure because if this ABH one is 3/4 inch shorter, it might be a deal killer. Because I'll push it. I don't know for sure. That's why I'm going to get the specs from Mary on the Jackson. And if it's physically identical, I might lean that way. Yeah, but it's well, okay. I don't know, but
I do.
Okay.
I do. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm familiar with the Jackson top pivots. That's for aluminum material.
Pivot, and that's why I want to get the specs on it. Because in the catalog it says it's for the doors, and I want to make sure it's heavy enough. because this is a heavy door.
Yeah, it's not. It's not.
It's got to be heavy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's
a $30 piece of hardware.
Well, okay. That's sort of common to recall $30 opposed to $89 or $100 or something like that. You know. And,
but that's meant to infer quality.
Sure.
Yeah, to a certain degree.
A lighter weight, and so I want somebody to put their hand on the Bible and says this is as good as the Doormatic. The only problem with mine is it's seized up. We had water issues over the years. Come down on that to the point where that adjusting screw is seized up, and away from that, I don't think the pivot itself is seized. I hope not. It doesn't really make any difference. I have to destroy it; it'll come out. But is there any way I could? I'm just thinking out loud. Is there any way I can maybe drill a hole very carefully and put some penetrating oil on that adjusting screw some way, because it's really hard to get at because of the flathead and things, or physically very carefully with maybe some kind of a soldering iron torch to put a little heat on it. I don't want to damage the door as far as wood and everything, but just put a little heat on top of that screw head to just maybe get it to budge. In life sometimes you have to do plan B to get something out. But so anyway, I'll get with Mary, measure that up, and just express my concerns. Is this as heavy duty as the Doormatic? It's got to be.
It's not. As far as I'm concerned, I'd use Ives or ABH or Rixson, and I would probably use the 0345 version of the ABH because it has it's the earthquake style top pin, which means its penetration into the door is substantially longer than the standard heavy duty top pivot. Those are pivots that are rated that will last millions of cycles. The Jackson is a mass produced Asian import, and I can't tell you how many of those I replace on a weekly basis.
I'm gonna take some notes here. So this ABH, the one, model 340, model 340 is the one I have.
Or the 345. It's got the longer top pin.
Well, a 345 would be the longer top. Whether I need that or not, I don't know.
Well, you don't. It's not required by code.
No, but I just don't want it to bottom out for whatever reason in my bushing or something like that. I don't know if that would hurt anything. Because the top bushing is epoxied in. We're not changing that. I don't want to. It doesn't.
I don't see how you'll avoid it.
Yep. So, okay. So, I want to get the specs on the Jackson one. I know, but you said an ABH Force, a Rixson. I think I actually have a Rixson catalog. I went through, and I don't know if I found a top pivot on theirs. I was going through their catalog. Okay, let's get beyond the top pivot. Move on to the floor closure. The Doormatic 620 D. It would be a left open 90-degree center hung. And like I mentioned before, I know I have oil leaking around the case. I put my paper towel down in there. We can see the oil. I put my paper towel down. I got like an inch of oil in the casement around it. The door is still functioning, closing, but it physically has leaked oil because of probably the rust around the body. And I don't know until we get the door off, to get the closure out to inspect that. So, but what are the possibilities of getting a rebuilt one off the shelf or anything with you?
It is a possibility. I'd have to see at the time that you determine that you want to get your hands on one to do the swap out.
Well, let's say, because I have a trustee meeting tonight, and I'd like to today's the day I want to make that decision. And is there one on the shelf right now? Could you possibly check that for me? Or we would be willing to send you ours and you rebuild that. My thought here is I'm kind of a repair kind of guy, and if let's say there's a rusted hole, it's probably several rusted holes around the whole thing. To get a new body, is that possible? You have to ask your guys, a new body is possible. Start with new steel. Or my thought, if it's just a couple little holes in it, I would clean it up good, and put some JB Weld on it, epoxy, and it might fix the problem for a long time.
What hand is the door?
It's left hand.
I may have, well, according to what I'm looking at here, I have one that I can tear apart and turn in. I believe I have one I can tear apart and turn into the one you have.
There you go.
It's basically going to be selling you a floor closer and then selling you all the labor to convert it into the version that you need.
Sure. Can you give me an estimate because I'm going to meet with the trustees and everything's about budget.
About $2,000.
Some of this, $2,000. Yeah. Okay.
Now rebuilding the one that you have would be substantially less, half or something like that.
Okay.
But what it is taking one that's the wrong hand and the wrong degree of opening, and changing it to the one that you need.
Yeah. Well, the one we need is the 2620. They say a D on it, and it's original to the one I have in there is 50 years old. It's installed in 1972, and it is very definitely, center hung, left pin opening. But I have the arm, and then we have the screw adjustments and everything. I have the proper shims, and so how about if that's that darn top pivot is the hang up right now, and but it's like I can understand. It's like the Jackson. It's probably Chinese or Korean or something. I don't know, and but if it just pops exactly into the same spot because of the length restrictions I got, I kind of need to know the length of this pivot pin arm. That's so from that screw to the center of the pin. That's the dimensions. I could probably from this picture in the ABH, I could probably convert something. This is 6 inches, so I could do something like 3 inches or something like that, and that's the dimension that's most critical because I had to have a very talented contractor that could get that in, and I'm sure the guys installed the first time were just screaming at the architect, "What are you trying to make me do here?" So anyway. So okay. So these are the sort of the things. I'll get them married. The dimensions of the Jackson. I understand the mass-produced part of it, but it's just dimensions are the most critical thing. I'm going to get with my contractor. If he ever put a tape measure on it, I got a tape measure sitting in a picture, but I wish I would have pulled it tight and said that's 7.5. If it's at 6 3/4, I'll just go with the ABH. But other things like it's going to be nice to have a top plate. Nobody sees the top plate. Nobody. In fact, I had one didn't install it originally, and you can't see it. Doesn't make any difference, but it sort of dresses it up because all the bottom, the dress plates I got on the bottom are all nicely shined up, and we got the ones out cleaned up. We primed them. I use your underbody coat under the floor to prevent against future water damage and things. So 3 out of 4 are just perfect. And I got a really talented contractor. His workmanship is just excellent. He's got nice redwood veneers in there. It's probably as good or better than it was originally installed. So anyway, I'm pleased with all that, but I just got to get beyond this top pivot issue. So okay. Well, I'm going to give Mary a call. I get the specs of that one. She'll send me a breakdown of it, and we'll kind of go from there. Yeah. So okay, Richard. I'll let you know what I find out here, and if you can help me, I'll give you a call back. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, sir.
You bet. Bye.
Bye. Okay, the conversation just ended, and I wanted to clarify what the client's doing. They've got those old Dormatic center hung 2600 series closers, and he's got a original Dormatic top pivot that he says measures around 7.5 inch. And it probably does. I don't have documentation. That stuff was probably discontinued in the 1990s, and the year is 2022 right now. And he has to rebuild or replace the floor closer. It's compromised, it's leaking, they're doing the work, so he'll refit that. I have currently a 2600 series that we can't, brand new, that old stock, that I can turn into the hand and the degree of opening, or at least I believe that we can do that. Now, regarding the top pivot, there's none of the original Dormatic top pivots available that I'm aware of. And I've suggested the ABH or Rixson, and I've also looked at Ives, and Ives is a bit shorter, or Dorma, or anybody who makes pivot hardware. But the client is intent on installing something that's going to fit into the prep and the header, and I'm arguing stop that, abandon the idea, it's a fool's errand, and also the concept that the client won't change the door portion of the top pivot is also an awful idea, because you've got 5 decades of use on that bushing in the top of the door, and if you're going to have to refit a modern, very high quality top pivot into the header, which I suspect he'll have to do, the mere concept of not changing the part in the top of the door is bizarre at a minimum, because you're putting a brand new pivot into a 5-decade-old component that's in the door. So my suggestion is that the client Dutchman the header, he Dutchmans the top of the door, plane all of that smooth. Once the glue has secured the new lumber into the door and the header, remortise everything, and you'll now have something that's going to last another 5 decades or longer. That's the whole point, and I hope that he easily comes to that conclusion. Thank you.
For you, I'm looking for some door silencers, and specifically the silencers in our church building, hollow metal frame doors, are they go into a 3/16 of an inch hole. And I'm looking at the project manager's book, and very specifically, they requested a G as in George, J as in Jaguar, 64 Glenn Johnson door silencers. And I actually looked up that, and Ives must purchase Glenn Johnson's Ives/Glenn Johnson now. And I'm looking at one right now, but I don't give any of the measurements of it. They have an SR64. Without knowing the measurements for the hole it goes into, I don't know if that's quite the right one or not. So anyway, that's sort of my question to you this morning, Richard.
Yeah, it's going to take a hole bigger than 3/16.
Yeah. Is there, like I say, these are 50 years old, and that's the size of hole they put in 50 years ago. And now if the whole industry has gone away from that and just only 1/4 inch holes now, that's sort of my question. I mean, I could get the drill out and I could drill them all, but I got probably 100 of them to go throughout the building. And it's just, I'd like to let's see if we do it. So is that probably my solution, probably, just to drill everything out and go to 1/4 inch ones?
Absolutely.
Okay. So the other one, I did look on there's also a truss built, number 340. Is that company in business anymore? Trust Built?
I am not familiar with them.
No, I can Google it, but so anyway, that's probably my. I looked at Mary Ackerman. She's looking. I got Doors Inc. looking, and everything's gone to 1/4 inch now. So I'm probably faced. Well, the problem is I already sent them back, thinking, I'll find something. And Richard, you can help me. But anyway, that's the way it is. That's probably the way it is. I'll have to get 2 drills out, and because some of my holes, I know they slapped concrete in there, and there's probably concrete up against the hole. And I was prepared to got myself a little masonry bit, and I was going to kind of ream it out. And so anyway, but that's probably my solution, because a lot of them are just all dried out after 50 years of doors banging them on and things like that. So, yep. So, is there a higher quality one that I should be looking at? I'm looking at this one at the Glenn Johnson Ives one. I kind of like the idea. They got a little air pocket there, might be a little cushier than solid rubber. I don't know. What's your thoughts on that?
It's not an air pocket. It's an area where you can insert the tool into. You mean that hole that's in the basement?
The hole is there. I know what the tool is, because I actually had one. But there's sort of they say that this was designed with a little. It says it forms an air pocket to absorb. I'm just looking at the picture here of this Ives Glenn Johnson one. And as far as it's sort of just a little recess around the whole thing that gives a little more cush, probably, as the door is bumping against it. Anyway.
Like the face of it is slightly concave?
Well, not the face is concave. I think the face is flat, but the underside where it goes in, the pointy part goes into the hole, and there's like a little recess around that, like it's a cap or something. I'm trying to just describe it. I'm looking at there's crafts hardware. Yeah. So anyway, that's what for anyway. This one lists at $27 for 100, and I don't know what I invested in last ones, or $18 or something I got them from Mary Ackerman, and I already sent them back, but I wish I kind of undid it right now. Because I just visualized, this evidently sometime between here and 50 years ago, they just decided to go to 1/4 inch, because maybe they thought the 3/16 was too wimpy or something like that. I don't know. So, yep. So anyway, do you have access to this Glenn Johnson one, or should I just get it from this Craft Master Hardware online?
I stock these. I stock everything that we've been speaking about for the last several weeks. I have in stock. And I've emailed you a link.
Yep.
I've emailed you a link to the one that I would use.
Okay. Let me go back. I was on your website here a second ago. Refresh. Go back. And AB Disc Supply. It's one of my favorites now. Oh, come on. My computer skills. Okay. A, B, supply. There it is. Okay. There it is. I type in door silencers.
May I give you the part number to look for?
No, I'm just still typing the silence. And it'll probably come up. If I can spell it right. There it is. Okay, now I got the whole thing. Start with the Burns. I want a package of 100. So Cal Royal, Donjo, or which one should I look for here?
Here's the part number in that search box. 1229.
I'm writing down right now. Okay.
The part number to search for is 1229A as in alpha.
1229A as an alpha. Okay. Search. Yeah, hit your search, not my search. There we go. So that Trimco up there.
Trimco is the one I would use.
The Trimco. There you go. Trimco. And if I get 100, will they throw that little tool in there too, probably?
Definitely not. That's an add-on.
Oh, gosh, I should have kept it then. I had one. And the one I sent back to Mary. Yeah. So, anyway, shoot. Can you just give me do I need to talk to somebody else that order that? Can you do it?
No, I can do it.
Let's let you do it. I'll get you my credit card here.
Okay.
So, Trimco. What's the difference between BL and JR? I'm just looking at this.
BL and GR is the color. Gray is GR.
Yeah. Well, technically, the doors are kind of dark brown. Nobody's going to look at this. Nobody cares whether it's gray or white or black. But you don't have any dark brown ones, do you?
No, they had that at one time and they've discontinued them.
That's fine. Just give me the gray ones. That's fine. Or is it black up there? Black. And there's a BL for the top one is black.
Yep.
Let's do that then. Black is closer to dark brown than gray. Yeah. I'll go black. Same price. So
it is. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
If you want the
yeah. So plus I want to get that little tool again.
Okay.
I'm really kicking myself for not hanging on to that. So
all right.
Allen wrench sort of do the same job, but anyway. So I'll get that tool because I've got 100 to do. And so yeah, got my credit card out here, and then I'll give you mailing address and all that good stuff. So
okay, I'm ready for the address.
Address. Here. A couple of days ago, I was looking for a door retainer. I thought it might have been the definition we're looking for, and I went to the Southco company, still in business. I sent pictures to them, and that does not match up with anything they got. Now I look back in my project manager's book on another page. It's got door holders. A door holder is basically, I got a brick wall in the south, and it's going to have a hook on it. On the door, it's going to have a little mechanism that's got a little cylinder that would bump up and lock that door, hold it open. So these are called door holders, as I described it as possibly what I'm looking for, a door holder. Mechanism down low on the door on the outside.
I would say yes.
I would say yes. So now with that, they're approved door holders. It could be Russwin was a specified one, or a Corbin would be a prior approved equal. Does that kind of scenario, for a Russwin or a Corbin? And my thought is, if I can get a picture of that to you, and if Russwin or Corbin has something like that still available, I'd be interested in getting a pair.
Yeah, I'll watch for your email to come where I can.
I'll watch for my email, and what I'll do is I'll copy you on a previous picture I took to the Southco people, and I think they might be on. I got several on the inside courtyard, which are slightly different on the one on the furnace room, and there's probably whatever reason they specified something different there. So I guess on the Southcos are ones that are on the inside of the courtyard. My Russwin or this Corbin might be on my furnace door. So anyway, I'll share you a picture of them. What I'm going to do is you're going to see the one on the door, and all I'm going to see on the brick side is two holes. It's going to take a little imagination. But on the other ones, they have 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 around, and I think they have on the brick side they have like 3 holes. So that's what tells me it's a little slightly different. So anyway, I'll send you those pictures and see if we can maybe match something up here. So okay.
Thank you.
Okay. I got your specified thing for my door silencers. I was just a pause of silence because everything looked like they were gray, and now they get the final invoice, they're black. So I assume they'll be black when they show up here. So yep.
Yes, sir.
Very good. Okay. Well, thank you. I'd like to say I'll forward you those pictures here. Thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
Yep.
Bye.
You bet. Bye. I got the pictures of the recommendation for my door holder. It's a Rockwood model, I believe it's 494S. And so, okay, I got one question first. And you might have briefly looked at my pictures I sent you. Is there any chance that strike would work with my holder on the door now? After I'm looking at it, I'm kind of guessing not.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. The design is going to be extremely generic, so there's a possibility that it will. But what I wanted to call to your attention was the fact that the new strike has 3 mounting points.
3 mounting points, which makes it stronger on the top, which is probably the most important part. Yeah. So I would have 2 new holes. Probably what I would do with that existing holes, I would probably, my thought is I'm feeling with some JB Weld or something like that, have a new drilling point. Then, put the, I would fasten it onto the brick better probably. And, So anyway, after I can look at mine just in the picture. I got the camera down there and I kind of looking at the design of the 494 compared to mine. I might go in today and get a pry bar underneath there and see what the functionality of it is. But anyway, so what I probably want to do is go ahead and order that Rockwood 494 that you're recommending there, and just kind of be done with this. And I'll just replace everything, so I know it'll work then. So, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, but so anyway, I mean, that's a solid, I don't know if that's, I think it's a hollow core solid steel door. It's on my furnace room. And, so I'm sure I can attach it nicely, and I'll attach the other one to the frame. So the material, is that bronze or brass, or do I have an option there?
The exposed parts would be a cast brass.
Mm-hmm. Cast brass. Okay. So, the ones that on,
And again, I just want to say, just because, it's part of my job in the sense of understanding code, that type of holder is not permissible on a fire-rated door. So just having said that.
Okay. Well, under the situation of that door, it's closed 99% of the time. The only time it's open is when service people going in and out of the furnace room from the outside of the building, working on an air conditioner or something like that. But, yep. It has to be, it's going to be closed, locked from the inside always. And I kind of thought about putting a closure on it, but I'm kind of resisting on that. Like it's probably, so that what I want to think is the one thing I got a nice general lock lever handle on the outside. I want to make sure this is protecting that handle, I guess. 3 3/4 inches from the brick to the door. I'm sure that's probably enough to protect that handle from banging up against the brick. Sort of a question. 3 3/4 inch.
Yeah, we'd have to look at the technical drawing on that 494S because it'll act as a bumper.
Sort of a bumper. Yep.
And let's take a look at the drawing of it. Template.
Yeah.
Yes, it's 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 exactly 3 3/4 when it's engaged.
Yeah, when it's engaged. So my thought is I would get my tape measure. I'll kind of put the door up against a brick. If I got the door handle does less than 3 3/4 inch, it'll be fine, right? I would think. Yeah. After it's latched. Yep. But it's sort of a classic old, I don't know if I've ever shown you a picture of the handle, but they're classic solid brass lever action general lock from the early 70s. So there's no curve to it. It goes out and over. So they can grab a hold of it with your handle.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep. I'm sure it'll work. My contractor had to work on that door considerably because we've had some vandals damage the lock set, and he was able to get it out apart, make everything work again, and get the hinges all adjusted and looped up. So it's working really good right now. So yep.
Awesome.
But, yeah. So anyway, this is one of the last little things on that door. I was about ready to give up on the whole door because literally we had to put a shoulder and push as hard as we could just to get it open. And so they got it all tuned up and ready to go. This is my last little detail I think I've got to put on that door. So anyway, I'm pretty confident this will solve that thing, and there's really no point of trying to just get a strike plate for my other one because it probably wouldn't work. Plus, there's a little rubber bumper on that. I think I've seen some of your videos. You talked about that before. That gives a little push when you hit that holder hits the strike and things. So
right.
Anyway, yep. So anyway, let me think. Do you still have my credit card? I might have to walk down here and get it here.
No, I have it. I do have it.
You do have it?
I have it in the sense I can reauthorize to it.
Okay, reauthorize. I'll give you real authorization to do it. The only one little thing, I'm going to change my address slightly. I know it'll get here because of the zip code and everything. When I say, if you look at if you see the invoice, when I say 240th, I mean 240.
Oh, 240. Yeah, I understand. Okay.
240. So you've got 200/40. It'll get here. Yeah,
I've got I've been to a lot of areas that are, I'm from Chicago, and I have a lot of relatives in Iowa, and I've been in very urban areas and the areas less urban, and I know my understanding of addresses doesn't apply when it's not, 1052 West Addison. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's probably my Midwest pronunciation of things or something. Back when I was younger, we had Route 2, Nashua, just Route 2. So the mailman had to know where we on his route, that was fine. Yeah, now we have 911 addresses. We know exactly where everybody is at, especially for the firemen and stuff, so that's good.
Yeah.
So, okay. I guess that's all I got for today. And probably should be getting my little door silencers in probably shortly here.
So enter an order for one of those door holders?
Just one.
Okay. I'll do it.
That's all.
I'll change it to 240. 240. I understand.
There you go. Okay.
I'll take care of it from here, and I'll send you an email.
There you go. That'd be great. Thank you.
And to you, sir. Bye-bye.
Yep. Bye.
Architectural Builders Supply hopes you have enjoyed this program. Thanks to our clients, Architectural Builders Supply is building an additional facility, and what follows is not only a look at the acreage that we're building the facility on, but also first the architectural renderings as they exist, or at least the architectural plans as they exist at this time. Thank you very much. Let's take a look. All right, let's take a look at the architecturals as they exist at this moment, or at least it wouldn't be proper to call these architecturals, but it would be proper to call them renderings in the sense of they're conceptual drawings, they're not renderings. So the entire space is going to look like this in terms of a site rendering. This will be a 22,000 square foot building, of which we'll have specific purpose areas. There'll be a workshop down here. This is a few thousand square feet. That will be likely woodworking, metalworking, CNC, things of that nature. This will be an office area here, a private office area. This will be architectural builders supply expanded storage area where we will be able to do fulfillment. The entire space in the center is going to be all of the volume, as I call it. Large components will be able to be stored and stocked there. Machinery that's too large to fit otherwise may be put out here. Specific facility rooms, and then some recreation over here. Let's take a look at that drone footage, and thank you very much for taking a look.